Hello and welcome back for match 3 with BUGOath. We are again on the play and have a turn 1 time walk plus time vault. So we have a bit of a theme here. We also have some counter magic, so it's a pretty easy keep as far as I'm concerned. We don't have a lot of velocity, but we certainly have a lot of mana. And it's all going to hit the table by turn 2. So happy to cast Time Walk as Explorer yet again, and hope to draw something productive, of which we have quite a bit. Unfortunately, we don't draw anything castable, and so we'll end up just casting Time Walk as Explorer and passing the turn with 4 permanents in play, which is still respectable, don't get me wrong. It's just, not the best thing that we could have done. Looks like we're playing against Blue-Eyed Angels. I don't know that many decks that play Tundra in Vintage. I'm trying to think of how Blue-Eyed Angels usually plays out. Mystic Remora. I'm actually inclined to let this resolve. I think that we can wait it out. Fortunately, I think that we have enough counter magic that it's not really worth risking our ability to have counterplay. And so I think misstepping it is fine. If they cast Ancestral with Mystic Remora in play, we would have to misstep it, they would draw a card, and possibly misstep back. It's not something that I'm entirely interested in. So Kasali Pride Mage. Okay. Pride Mage is fine. So it looks like they're a Bant style deck. Huh. Well, this is fascinating. So we're going to cast Jace, hope it doesn't get spell pierced or forced, and Fate Seal ourselves. We have actual removal spells. We have... Yes, we'd like to put that card on the bottom of our library. We have actual removal spells. We have actual Planeswalkers worth protecting. This looks a lot more like Legacy, all of a sudden. So I assume our opponent is getting triple exalted into play and killing our Jace with Kasali Pride Mage, which is unfortunate. It also gives us an opening to Vault Key them. So we can brainstorm. Well, we're probably going to lose this one given the way that our hand is set up to play out. We are brainstorm locked and drawing 2 blanks with only 1 removal spell and quite a bit of pressure on the other side of the board. And while we do get to use Abrupt Decay as a fog, we're going to lose our Time Vault as a consequence and start taking 3 a turn. Which isn't the end of the world, but it isn't good. What could our opponent have? Zenith for another Pride Mage, which we have to Force of Will pitching Swan Song, which is, useless because they're a creature deck, but still. It's not really where we want to be. So if I were playing a Bant deck in Vintage, I would assume I would have a lot of Hate Bears. Jesus Christ, that's not a hate bear. Okay, well, we're drawing Mana Crypt next turn. We're going to take 9 and 9. Yeah, wow. Tarmogoyf, ladies and gentlemen, quite the card in Vintage. Okay, we're dead. We are literally dead. But we have a good idea of what we want. We want these Nature's Claims and Abrupt Decays. We want Thoughtseize. We don't want Time Vault or Voltaic Key. And I think that we're going to end up winning with Gristlebrand in some fashion. Yeah, I don't think Swan Song is great. Actually, Thoughtseize might not be great either. And I think that we just want more lands so that we can cast our Jace, etc. And Show and Tell is certainly a good card. They're going to have Grafdigger's Cage, and they may well have Aegis of Honor. So we're going to have to find ways of getting Gristlebrand into play that don't necessarily involve Oath of Druids. So we will keep this one. Cast Underground Sea, play Underground Sea and cast Vampiric Tutor. I was really hoping that they weren't going to have a way to accelerate mana. So I think that we vamp for Recall here. Actually, we could just vamp for Show. And cast Jace, and then, yeah, that makes more sense. So we cast Jace, we make sure that the coast is clear. They force pitching Mystical, which is fine. We just have to hope that they don't have a Jace of their own. Stoneforge Mystic against Gristlebrand is a well-documented fight. I prefer to be the one with the Gristlebrand, all things being equal. So, let's hope that our opponent doesn't have any sort of Fiend Hunter or Caracas or anything like that. So I'm content drawing 7. And if they crack their Lotus to try and plow, then I'm happy misstepping as well. So they misstep, stack clears, and we draw 7. We're actually in a great spot. We're going to be able to Nature's Claim the Sword. We're a little flooded, but we still have another vampiric, another Gristlebrand. And our opponent's on more or less empty. So we just have to dodge our Mana Crypt killing us before we find something to do with all of our mana. I think I would prefer not to take 1, given that we're already under the gun from Mana Crypt, and we don't really know when we're going to get out of this. Fortunately, this is a very good draw. Okay, we are back in business, it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4. We could actually just cast Gristlebrand here, but I would prefer to cast Jace first. Oops. These Jaces are an excellent backup plan, by the way. So, we unsummon that, and we have the hardcast Gristlebrand as backup. So we brainstorm, we draw into all the cards that we need, we add all the black mana to our mana pool, and we cast our Gristlebrand. And our opponent has to have 2 very good spells here. So I think that I actually want to play around misstep by just forcing it. Because if they have swords plus misstep, which they could have just drawn misstep. It would make sense for like why they don't have anything left. Then they counter it. We can't draw 7 and not like guarantee. And like if we draw 7, then we can probably force it. But like if we force it, then we are at a 50% chance of losing the game on our upkeep, which is undesirable. So we played it that way, even though like it ended up throwing away a card that seemingly we didn't need to. But I think that was the right call. So this is a fairly Pride Mage antagonistic setup. We get to fight on the board a lot, and we have Yawgmoth's Will as sort of an overwhelming endgame. So I'm happy with all of this. I think that Drain might be worse than something like Flusterstorm. Although, actually, I think just being able to counter whatever it is that they show up with off the top of their deck is a powerful strategy. I'm not sure about Thoughtseize versus Drain, given that we're playing against a Stoneforge Mystic deck, but I'll be interested to find out how bad Drain is on the draw against this banned deck. Well, can't really mulligan the like library plus a zillion 0-mana artifacts hand on the draw. That one's a little too good. So we'll kick things off by drawing a card. And playing a Sapphire and passing the turn. Forcing our opponent to commit to action before we do anything. Sylvan Library, an interesting card that I don't think that the Sylvan version is going to outdraw the traditional version, to be real honest with you. So we're going to Mystical for Recall. Going to draw an extra card. Going to recall ourselves. We actually didn't need to play this land, but they force pitching Flusterstorm, we force pitching Misstep. And we're fine not casting any of our 0-mana artifacts, given that they're just going to take us further away from Sylvan Library. And further away from Library of Alexandria, rather. And what we're interested in right now, since they're not flooding the board, is just fighting a tactical positioning battle, where our cards are free and their cards cost 4. And we draw possibly the best card in our deck, which is Mox Emerald. Huh. We certainly have options. So I think that playing Emerald was fine there. It's basically a question of whether or not they have Spell Pierce, and I don't think that they have Spell Pierce in a deck with Flusterstorm and Mental Misstep. However, I think they have all reactive cards, which is odd. So I think I prefer to just decay their library and pass. Oh, I can't even... I played that wrong. I shouldn't have played Mox Emerald. I should have played Mox Jet. Okay, so given that, we should at least Nature's Claim their library. So they misstep, and at this point I think we can just go ahead and actually we can just play out all of our cards and Jace with Spell Pierce, mana available. Oh, they have Drain? Jesus. How do they have Drain in a deck with that many colors? Okay, well, they're going to be working with whatever it is that they've got in their hand. I did not anticipate Drain out of that deck. That's phenomenal. Drain into Jace. Wow, that is fascinating. I would have never guessed that a deck playing Green Sun Zenith and Kasali Pride Mage and Stoneforge Mystic was also playing Mana Drain. Huh. Okay. I assume Mystical for recall. Yeah. So this game was sort of a tragedy of us overplaying, me overplaying Library of Alexandria, or playing out of a Library of Alexandria position. Right, time was on my side, and for some reason I decided to move in on Jace plus Decay when I could have just had it all locked up. So we're going to take 3 and get our Oath blown up, and then probably get Fate Sealed out of the game, if I had to guess. Yeah, so we need to draw Forbidden Orchard or a good spell. Wow, I did not see Mana Drain coming. That's so sick. Okay, so we're drawing live here. So definitely playing our fetch land. I don't know if I'm supposed to misstep this Brainstorm. Like, I'd much rather misstep I guess like that's probably the most powerful one drop that they can cast here. So I'm actually going to draw this and just like see how much they're interested in leveling me. Okay. The answer was I should have shuffled it. Good to know. I just want to keep them honest on leaving cards on top. I think it's within almost anyone's range to leave good ones on top. But we are for sure misstepping this one. So, kicking it back here, accidentally clicked through our turn. Yeah. We're going to die to Jace and Crypt at basically the same time. Huh, okay. So we will cycle in Jace and claim and recall. And draw nothing and die. Cool. Well, that was an embarrassing display of what happens when you have Library on turn 1, have literally everything, and still manage to throw it all away. I'll be right back.